All right, as we just mentioned, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will be holding events in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania today. The race is tight, with Harris leading in the state with just a 3-point lead in the latest New York Times poll. Karoline Leavitt is the Trump 2024 National Press Secretary, and she joins me now in studio. Karoline, it's great to see you. I know you have a busy day ahead.
We do.
Okay, so before we get to Pennsylvania, I just want to ask you about this situation that happened at Trump's Coachella rally, where a man was arrested on weapons charges. The Secret Service has said that Donald Trump was never in any danger. What's Donald Trump and the campaign's reaction to this situation?
Well, look, the details about this particular case are still unfolding. We trust local law enforcement. We appreciate them for doing all they can to keep President Trump safe. I'll leave it at that in terms of the particular case, but it does speak to the heightened tension surrounding our campaign. We know that the Iranians are engaged in an ongoing threat to assassinate President Trump. There are threats here at home. There are threats abroad. His life is truly in danger, and even in the face of grave danger, he's out there on the campaign trail, barnstorming the country, because he's so hell-bent on winning this election.
Yeah, he has admitted that it is a dangerous job, and
Indeed.
It certainly is. So we hope both candidates stay safe on the campaign trail. Okay, so speaking of both candidates, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they're both going to be in Pennsylvania today. I know you're going as well. We just showed that latest New York Times poll. It shows Kamala Harris up by 3 points, and it also shows that 3% of people don't know or refuse to answer. So essentially, it's a jump ball. Does what you're seeing on your screen right now match your internal polling? And also, what will the closing message be today?
So we released internal polling last week that shows us leading in Pennsylvania, and many other public polls have that as well. It's a tight race. Yeah. The road back to the White House leads right through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. President Trump knows that. That's why he's going there today. He spent significant time there. He loves the people of the state. They've been hurting because of Kamala Harris's policies. Inflation is up. Fentanyl crisis is up. Drug overdoses are up. Crime is up in the Keystone State. Kamala Harris wants to ban fracking. Day one, she will implement that long-awaited, long-promised ban of hers. President Trump will protect those fracking jobs, bring law and order back to Pennsylvania. It's a winning message. He brings it back to that state. Every single week he'll be there between now and Election Day.
And when you think about a state like Pennsylvania, I mean, the union vote does come to mind. There are two unions that have not endorsed either candidate, which seems like it could be a win for the Trump campaign. And also the Border Patrol union yesterday endorsed Donald Trump.
Yeah, the Border Patrol union endorsing President Trump at his rally in Arizona last night. A huge endorsement. Obviously, Kamala Harris has allowed the worst border invasion in our nation's history, and the brave men and women of the Border Patrol are on the front lines of this war at our southern border every single day. President Trump will protect them. He will give them wages. He will hire more agents to help them in their duty to protect the homeland. Kamala Harris has failed completely on that front.
Okay, so one of the biggest stories that we've been focusing on for the past few weeks have been these storms. Hurricane Helene first, and then Milton. And obviously the human impact of the storm is the most important part, but they have hit so close to a presidential election. So there are questions about how this could impact the race. North Carolina, early voting starts this week. So what do you think about that, how these storms could impact the election?
Well, as President Trump said when we were on the ground in Georgia surveying the damage, may I add, he went there before Kamala Harris or Joe Biden did. He said, we care most about lives, protecting lives, saving people's livelihoods. Their businesses were destroyed. Their homes were destroyed. With that said, it's very important that voters are not disenfranchised. And our campaign leadership sent out a letter to state and local officials on the ground in North Carolina saying you need to provide as many accessible voting locations as possible on the ground. Our campaign is reviewing how we can possibly provide transportation for voters who need to get to the polls and ensuring they have access to the ballot box. They have faced this destruction for no fault of their own, and this is Trump country. This is Western North Carolina. These are our people. We're focused on taking care of them and making sure that their right to vote still remains even in the wake of this disaster.
What are your thoughts on this conversation about misinformation when it comes to storms?
Well, look, I think the media wants to talk a lot about the misinformation. We want to talk about the failures of this administration, and there have been them at the very top. You look at FEMA, right? They spent $1 billion on housing illegal migrants in luxury hotels. That is a fact. The mainstream media, the Biden administration may want to dispute that, but it's true. That money could now be going towards saving American citizens who it's their tax dollars at the end of of the day, you also see after it took a week for the Biden administration to call upon the 82nd Airborne in North Carolina to tour the damage. That's because this administration, we've seen it in Afghanistan, we saw it at the southern border, we saw it in East Palestine, the Maui wildfires. They have failed to lead in every moment of crisis over the past 4 years. They move at a bureaucratic speed. President Trump is going to get the government moving at a business speed and solve real problems for the American people.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the soldiers at Fort Liberty, Fort Bragg, they were itching to help out.
Absolutely.
Because it's a storm that hit in the state that they're based in. You're absolutely right. We just played the clip with Joe Concha. Did you hear that exchange with J.D. Vance and Martha Raddatz
I did.
when it comes to Aurora, Colorado?
Yes, and he's spot on. Look, I don't know why the Sunday show still let J.D. on, because he crushes it every single time. He's one of the best spokespeople we have in this movement. But the point he was making is absolutely true. The media wants to pick apart every word that President Trump says. And I see this working on our press team every single day. I'm constantly fighting mainstream media reporters for they're writing stories about President Trump's words rather than the actions of our current elected officials, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The reason we have Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado is because of Kamala Harris's open border, and that the media cared more about that than they do about every word Donald Trump says. Maybe the border would be closed right now.
Okay, so one of the groups Donald Trump is gaining support in has to do with black voters, particularly black men.
Yeah.
Well, just this hour, Kamala Harris released what she's calling her opportunity agenda for black men. The agenda includes 1 million fully forgivable loans to black entrepreneurs, education, training, and mentorship programs for black men, supporting a regulatory framework for cryptocurrency and other digital assets, also launching a national health equity initiative focused on black men, and it also includes legalizing recreational marijuana and creating opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this new industry. Not sure if you've seen this yet because it was just released, but what's your initial reaction to it?
I did have a chance to take a look at the plan this morning. It is smoke and mirrors. It is a last-minute pitch to a voting demographic that Kamala Harris knows she is losing big time. The polling amongst black voters is catastrophic for the Democrat Party right now, particularly amongst black men. Kamala Harris is down more than 20 points from where Hillary Clinton was in 2016. President Trump is making historic gains with this demographic because they had more money in their pockets when he was president. The crime was under control in their communities. They weren't being put last ahead of illegal immigrants who are being put first today in Kamala Harris's America. So we are very hopeful about black voters turning out for President Trump. We're making a real effort to meet them on the ground where they are in their communities. And the Democrat Party is running scared right now. Don't take it from me. Take it from Barack Obama, who said it himself last week.
Karoline, thank you so much for joining us ahead of the town hall in Pennsylvania. We appreciate it. Good to see you as well.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.